it is the beginning of July, which means that we now have access to the monthly update data for the local real estate market here. I am Geoff Gooch. I'm a realtor with the Russell Company, powered by App Properties here in the Greater Lafayette area. And I'd love to help you find home here in the Lafayette area. And the entire reason that we bring you this show is that we can keep you up to date on our area, all the cool things that there are to do, but housing, the market, your home values, if you're a renter, what that could look like. And that's why we're here week after week. And I love giving you that deep insight into that real estate market. And we're going to do that this week by looking back at data through the end of June. Our data has locked from an analysis standpoint for the month. So we're going to look at this. And I think that there's a lot of confusion, perhaps fear, definitely lack of information on some people's parts about what the real estate market is and what it's going to be doing. Real estate is an intensely local thing. As my kids are fond of saying, it's a thing. Is it a thing? Yes. Yes, it is. But the housing market here in Greater Lafayette is strong. There's no sign that we're in a bubble. There's no sign that the market is going to collapse. There's no sign that the market is going to retract. The market is doing exactly what it is supposed to be doing and will continue to do what it's supposed to be doing according to all the signs that we can see. And I want to walk you through some of the data and why I think the data shows that to be the case. So the first number that we're going to look at in our review of the real estate market here in Tippecanoe County from June of 2025 is the inventory. And this is the amount of homes that are for sale month by month. Let's take a look here. I think I got the right button. I sometimes get this wrong. All right, I got it right. Yay. Here we go. June of 2025, there were 286 homes for sale. I bring you this one first because I really got something to say about this. I really have something to say about this. Let's check out this graph down here. And we're looking all the way over here at this right-hand corner on this graph, and we can see 286, June of 2025, and we can see how it grows. And the low point is here in the winter between about January and March, and then goes up. Two things that I want to look at here on this graph in particular. Let's go back here 5 years back to June of 2020. And here we are at the peak of the market in 2020, and then it, what you might say, nosedives off and goes down, but this is seasonal, as we're about to see. We get down to the winter, and it goes back up. And we hang out around here, and in December, January, it comes back down, and it goes back up, and this pattern just repeats over and over and over again, with a little bit of change in the tops and the bottoms. The bottoms stay about even. The bottom grew a little bit this last year, and the tops are going up a little bit year over year. And we can see that the top in 21 was 189 and in 22 was 218. We only got to 181 last year. Sorry, in 23. And in 24, we reached a top of about 231. This year, it looks like we reached a top of 286. And the reason that I wanted to go into this in depth is the number that is thrown around a lot is 300. And what does 300 mean? In a balanced market would be 300 homes for sale here in Tippecanoe County at any given time. If there are less than 300 for sale, that means that there's not enough product, not enough homes for sale. So it is a seller's market. Sellers are in the stronger position, and depending on how much of a seller's market, perhaps they can demand and get higher prices. And then the flip side is as you go over 300, it becomes a glut of product, a glut of homes on the market, and buyers now have choices, and they can negotiate and perhaps get the price down a little bit. So 300 has always been that theoretical number that we talk about as a balanced market, and it's not a fixed point in the time-space continuum by any means. It's as they say in Pirates of the Caribbean, there are more guidelines than rules, so it all exists. And you know exactly if that 300 still is the case after not being that number is up for debate. But we're as close to that 300 theoretical number as we ever have been. We're pretty darn close to what has historically been defined as a balanced market. That means that the number of homes for sale match the number of buyers that are in the market. Not too many, not too few of each. Gotta find the right button here. So that is the average inventory by month. I wanted to begin with that because next up we're going to talk about new listings. These numbers are related. They're not married, if that makes sense. They're cousins. They're not husband and wife. I just made that one up. I don't know if it's a good analogy or not, but it's the one that we're going with. So here is the number of listings, new listings by month over the last 5 years here in Tippecanoe County. And I'm using Tippecanoe County as our data set as proxy for the market here in the Greater Lafayette area. In my mind, the Greater Lafayette area includes Lafayette and West Lafayette, all of unincorporated Tippecanoe County, Battleground, all the other little towns here around Tippecanoe County, but also the ring counties, Carroll County and White County and Fountain County, and all the counties that touch Tippecanoe County by sales data could be lumped into the Greater Lafayette area. And they all follow similar trends. Of course, the smaller counties are going to follow their own trends because they just have such small inventory compared to what we have. And our inventory is small compared to what a metropolitan market like Indianapolis is going to have. So all things are relative. But when you look at Tippecanoe County, it's a pretty good stand-in for Lafayette. And it is representative of what happens in West Lafayette. West Lafayette is by far the tightest, highest performing area of our little local markets. Looking at them would take the rest of the market out of context. But new listings here in Tippecanoe County. And I wanted to look at this because here's what I see. I see that same pattern that we saw in total homes for sale. It grows in the summer and dips in the winter. Grows in the summer, and we rinse and repeat over and over and over again. The delta, the change between top and bottom, gets smaller from 2020 on out to 2024. There are a lot of reasons that has been happening. Some of them are driven by nationwide market conditions. Some of them are driven by politics and the news. Some of them are driven by interest rates, but some of them are entirely local. Some of them are driven by not enough inventory in the area, not having enough options for the people that would sell to go somewhere else. So the reasons for that span the gamut just as much as anything else here in the local real estate market. But in December of 2024, we reached a low point of 101. But look, man, in May, we popped up to 293. So I said in a balanced market, we should have about 300 homes for sale at any given time. 293 new listings in May, slightly less in June, 223. But that means that basically all of the previous month's sales essentially would have already sold by those numbers. A strong market. The numbers are going up. There are more homes for sale. Now, the driver of some of that more homes for sale is some more people are entering the market to sell their homes. Some of that is driven by other factors, and we're going to talk about those. One of those other factors being something that we'll talk about here in a moment, closed sales. So we'll just touch on this one briefly in comparison to the time that we spent on the others. But closed sales in June, and with a 5-year look back to June of 2020, look something like this. Sorry, you got the right button. Closed sales look something like this. May and June basically flat to each other, just under 200 at 195. But we can see this kind of sinusoidal pattern. It's not quite a square wave, not quite a sinus wave. You can see this wave type action where it rises in the summer, falls in the winter, rises and falls, and the changes get smaller and smaller as we approach the mid-2020s. But here we are, and it has grown. 195, it's right in line with where the peaks have been the last 2 years. So we were talking about the number of homes for sale. One of the reasons that there are more homes for sale is that the number of closed sales is not growing at quite the pace as the number of listings on the market. Is that a bad thing? No, because we've been living for years now on an anemic inventory of not enough homes for sale. So what we're really looking at is a market that is slowly bringing itself back into balance, or at least attempting to do. This is a related number. All right, none of my windows are opening where I want them to. This time we're going to look at new pending contracts by month, with a 1 year look back. And this one we can see just in the 1 year pattern that we've been looking at. We can't see past, the graph doesn't show the 4 years previous to this, but we can see that June was the high point and flowed down to the winter, and then it's risen back up again. And new pending contracts, this is in the month of June, 186 people wrote an offer, said, "Hello, we're buyers. We would like to buy your house, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller." And the seller said, "Yes, we will accept your contract. Let's shake hands. Let's shake hands. Okay, we have an agreement. Let's go pending. Sign our names on the dotted line." That's new pending contracts. It's up. What does that mean? Let's keep moving on and we'll talk about what that means. This one here is going to tell us a lot about what that means. Median days on market. This is how long it takes a house to sell. You hear me talk a lot. If you've watched any of our shows here on the Lafayette Reel or every Monday with At Lafayette Live, you'll hear me talk about how I like means over median, or I like medians over means, that a median basically throws away the high and the low number that can skew statistics and averages. If you have a whole bunch of $300,000 houses, but one $3 million house, that $3 million house is going to throw off your average. So last month, there were, I think what we said, about 200 homes for sale. Let's use 200 for this conversation right now. About 200 homes for sale. Actually, it was closer to 300. So let's say 300 for our argument right now, just to make the numbers nice and round. The median days were 7. What that means is of those 300 that sold, that were listed, days from listing to pending, if there were 300, 150 of them sold in 7 days or less, and the other 150 sold in more than 7 days. So some houses might have sold in 14 days or 140 days, but 150 of them, using that argument of 300, sold in 7 days or less. That is a week. That is lightning fast. You might look at this little pop-up that's floating here, median days on market previous year, 4, and if indeed we look at this graph, it hits 4 last year. And if we were to zoom into the West Lafayette market, it gets down to 2s and 3s. But 7 is fast. In a market that has historically been in the 3 to 4 week range, in the 25-ish day range, somewhere between 21 and 28 days, you put your home for sale on a Monday, you've got an accepted offer by a Friday. So the housing market is still hot. If you have a home for sale, there is a buyer for it. While we're slowly growing back towards what might have historically considered been a balanced market in the inventory sense, we are not there in a time sense. Those homes that are coming on the market are really just backfilling the pent-up demand, and the people that need to move always have to move. You got a new job, you have new kids, you get married, there's not enough space. You have to transfer, whatever the case might be. There are always people that have to move, but then there are people that might want to move, and that market is starting to shake loose just a little bit more. Moving on, take a breath here and check the clock. Months of inventory. What does this all translate into? This is I can talk. This is a statistic that takes the amount of available homes and the speed that they're selling and determines, okay, at the speed they're currently selling, if we had no other homes come on the market right now, how long would it take for us to sell out of our inventory? June 2025, that answer is 1.9 months. So essentially 2 months and slightly less than 60 days if nobody else sold their home. We would be out of homes to sell. But check this out. This is as high as it has been in the last 5 years. 5 years. This is the longest that it has been. Look back here at the low, 0.4 months, essentially 0. Less than 15 days of inventory that we would run out. So again, one of those generally accepted numbers from the past is that we should have about 3 months of inventory in a balanced market. This is a number that we actually talk about as real estate brokers more than perhaps we talk about some of the other statistical numbers in detail. And we have a lot of debate over whether in the year 2025, and we've had this debate for a number of years now, about whether that number is really 3 anymore. It really is probably more like 2, 2.5, as opposed to 3. And the fact that we are at just under 300 homes for sale in the last month I think 289 was the number, and we're at 1.9 months, makes that calculus match up a little bit. And I indeed think that we're pretty close to what would be the new average. I don't think we're quite there. I don't think it's 1.9 months, but I don't think it's 3 months either. Will this continue to grow? No. It won't grow much more this year. July, August has some chance of going up. We'll look back here to 2022. July was the high point. The next year, looks like the high point didn't come until October, November. So it could grow just a little bit more, but it won't be by much. You'll see that kind of once we normally hit these highs, it kind of flattens and goes back down. But again, that pattern up and down means that hopefully next summer, all other things being equal, up, up, up. We'll see. Not a fortune teller, but I'm pretty good at looking at the data, and I think that we're trending in the right direction here in the Greater Lafayette area. Everybody keeping up? If you are, hit the like and subscribe button. Tell us how much you enjoy watching all of these local Lafayette real estate market updates here on at Lafayette Live every Monday. Well, the real estate updates aren't every Monday, but... Okay, we got just a few more to blast through here. Thanks for sticking with us through this business. It does mean a lot to me. This is another important one. I talk to people all the time who talk about houses are so overpriced. And I argue back, no, they're not. The market makes the price. If somebody is willing to pay the price, then it is not overpriced. And we're not talking about one person here. We're talking about a whole lot of people that make a market. And this number proves it. Median sale price in Tippecanoe County, June of 2025, $330,000. Again, if 300 homes sold, then 150 of them sold for $330,000 or less, and then the other 150 sold for $330,000 or more. That's what the median is. And look at the graph again. We're peaking out over here. This is as high as it has been over the last 5 years. This is not unhealthy growth. This is not a 90-degree straight climb in a month or two or a year. This is steady growth month after month, year over year. There are these leaps that we see that are seasonal in nature. We come out of the winter and that price jumps up and then it sinks back down over the winter and then it leaps back up at the beginning of the next summer and so on and so forth and continues on its way. And indeed, if we look at 2024 into 25, it sinks down and then it jumps up, but the jump is about the same. It's about 2 bars and change, 2 bars and change, just 1.5 bars, 2 bars. These are the same statistical jumps that we're seeing year after year after year. So the next house that you need to buy, the first house that you need to buy, it's not getting any cheaper. When's the best day to buy today? Sorry, I've got that wrong. When is the best day to buy yesterday? When's the second best day to buy today? Houses aren't getting any cheaper. Your rent's not getting any cheaper if you're a renter that is watching us. Is your landlord lowering the rent year after year? I guarantee you that he's not. The local market continues to be strong. Sale prices prove that. Prove it. And what also proves that sale prices are strong and priced correctly is sale price as percent of listing price. What'd you say, Geoff? That sounds really complicated. It's really not. Let's take a look at this number. This is, are people getting their asking price? Here's the 100% line on the bar. They're not quite getting their asking price. The line hasn't hit here in a year. However, look over here on the vertical side. 100%, 99%, 98%. These are 1% increments. 1%! So they're not getting 100% of their asking price. In June, they got, on average, 98% of their asking price. So if somebody asked $300,000 for their home, they took 2% off of that, $6,000. That is things like seller concessions to buyers to cover things like down payments, closing credits, repairs, those sorts of things. They're not getting money off of their asking price. This is just part of the negotiation process where sellers who hold the asset, they hold the house. That is the asset. That is where the value is. That is the thing that the bank is backing up with a loan in most cases. They are taking some money out of that, and then those buyers are paying that back over 30 years as part of their monthly payment in most cases. So if we look, it never got quite to 100% over the last year, but it also never sunk below 96.6%. That means the average closing costs, coverage, negotiations, that sort of thing are about 3% in most cases. Yes, sure, there are some people that are negotiating on price and just, I want to take a little bit off, and the sellers are like, yeah, sure, I'll accept your offer of 1% off of 1.5% off sort of thing, just to save face and make you feel like you saved a little bit of money. So when people tell me houses are overpriced, no, they're not. They're all getting what they're asking. And if we look at this blue area in the graph, this is the expected range. Here in Tippecanoe County, we're riding over what the historical statistics say we should be getting. So we're running a little hot in comparison to the expected range. So housing is not overpriced. It is going for exactly what people are willing to pay for it. We're going to look at some data in a slightly different format in the next couple of presentations. This is an interesting one related to price. When people tell me that houses are overpriced, whether they are or are not, people are paying them. That people are the market. People make the market. The market, therefore, is people. And they're paying what people are asking for their homes. In many cases, because of their first home, that's what the asking price is. But in many cases, if you are selling to buy, if you are moving up, if you're having kids or just growing your family, or you just want more space, you want to get out of your starter home, then you need to sell your home. And what do you want for your home? More than you paid for it. You want a profit, right? If you are downsizing and you're getting rid of the big home, whether it's because your kids have moved out and gone to college or for any other reason, what do you want to do? You want to make money on your house, but you need that money to buy your next house. That's the fact of life, right? Yeah, of course it is. New listings by price. When people tell me I'm going to wait for prices to come down or I want something cheaper, the dark green is the current year, 2025. The light green is the previous year. So check this out. Houses listed, $149,000. So this is less than 150. Look how small this bar is compared to all the other bars. The dominant bar is the 250 to 350 bar, basically. That is the center of pricing here in Tippecanoe County. You can find some homes for 150 to 250. You can find a lot of homes for 350 to 5, and then we get up into the rare air of the premium homes, let's call them, here in Tippecanoe County. So if you're looking to buy a mainline home, you're looking at 150 to 500 with a strong centering in that 250 to 350 range. This is the homes that are for sale. These homes that sold, only 91 of them. Only 91 homes compared to 519 and 683 this current year. We're talking 20% of this. We're talking like 15, 16% of this number of the 250 to 350. There are just not that many homes for sale at that price point. And the homes that are for sale on that price point, they need a lot of work, and they're small. And no joke, sometimes these are like burn downs, like houses that have caught fire, and somebody goes and buys essentially the lot for 100, 120K. It happens all the time. Don't believe me? Call me up. Contact information is right here, and I'll show you the numbers. And I'll show you some properties. And if you're interested in buying one of them, I'll help you buy one. 2 more charts, and we're going to do a couple of home tours tonight after that. But 2 more charts that I think show some really, really interesting data. Closed sale by price here in Tippecanoe County. And this is going to show the same pattern that we saw in the previous one. Check this out. Current year, the dark purple, the lighter purple previous year. 582 is the high here in the middle. $250 to $350,000 is the average closed sale price, the median closed sale price. Not many cheaper. Not many at the cheap end, 0 to 150, only 430 compared to 582 at 150 to 250. And again, the numbers get smaller as you get up into the premium priced products. So that is closed sales by price here in Tippecanoe County. And then the last graph I want to look at is again related to that data. Pending sales by price. No surprise here. These bar graphs show exactly the same data that the last couple of bar graphs showed. The median is the purple ones are what we're looking at, the dark purple. Most homes that sold, 580 of them, $250,000 to $350,000 is that median price window. You can get some for $150,000 to $250,000. There's almost nothing at $0 to $150,000 in what is available. You don't want, unless you're a very much a handyman or you're a flipper. That's what these are, flipper specials down here. And by flipper specials, I mean like the ones that actually need work, not just the throw a coat of paint on and throw down some vinyl flooring and call it a day. Those are in this price range, believe it or not. Seriously, in the one that you're going to start at the 120s to 130s, bare minimum to find something that's a lipstick on a pig. But it's going to be really, really hard to find. And there's 100 other experienced people that are going to jump on that before you're going to get on it. It's a really, really anemic market when it comes to that. Our market is here. That's where it is. So the local real estate market here in the Greater Lafayette area, in Tippecanoe County, Lafayette, West Lafayette, all of the surrounding counties, is really, really strong. And our market update from June of 2025 shows it. So if you're interested in home here in the Greater Lafayette area, go to the LafayetteReal.com/YouTube and fill out the form, and let's chat about how we can help you with your home journey here in the Greater Lafayette area. Whether you're looking to buy or sell, upsize, downsize, first-time home buyer, I'd love to talk to you. And if you enjoy watching our shows and videos, then that's a great way to support us as well.